لله الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله سبحانه وتعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وسندنا ومولانا محمد عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وعشيرته وأهل بيته وأصحابه وأنصاره ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد رضي الله عن المؤمنين إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة فعلم ما في قلوبهم وأنزل السكينة عليهم وأثابهم فتحا قريبا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. Dear respected brothers, elders, youngsters, in our previous few lessons we spoke about the incident of Mi'raj, whereupon the ascension of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam took place, where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he went to the seven heavens and he went above and he went and met his Lord, he met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, today we will continue and we will try to speak about what happened after the incident of Mi'raj, which approximately took place in the 10th year of prophethood, and what took place between the 10th year of prophethood and the next great incident, which is the incident of Hijrat, migration, when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam with his companions, he migrated to Medina, which took place in the 13th year of prophethood. And we will mention about how Islam started spreading slowly, and we will mention about the Bay'atul Aqaba, which is the Pledge of Allegiance, which took place twice. First of all, when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam realized that the Quraysh, they weren't going to support Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they were clinging onto their aggression and harming Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he started presenting the message of Islam. He started giving da'wat to different tribes, to various tribes, because the Quraysh, they didn't want to accept the message of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He started presenting the message of Islam to different tribes, to various tribes. And when did he used to present this? Inshallah, we'll mention this later on. But the times he used to present this, number one, was in the days of Hajj, when many of the tribes from different places, different towns and cities, when they used to come for Hajj, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to visit them. He would call them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also in the trading seasons, where people would come from Sham, from Syria for trading purposes, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam would take this opportunity. Any opportunity to give da'wat, we hear again and again, any opportunity to give da'wat, we should give it. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, any opportunity he got to give da'wat, he would give the people da'wat. So whether it be in the Hajj season, whether it would be in the seasons where people would come for trading. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the reason why he obviously called the various tribes towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the reasons obviously was to, first of all, to call them towards the true message, the message of Islam. And one of the other reasons at this stage of da'wat, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was mainly focusing on the strongest tribes, and he would mainly approach those tribes who were strong in the sense of numbers, in the sense of military, etc. And the reason, inshallah, we'll mention this as well. So he started propagating his message. One of his reasons, like I mentioned, was obviously for protection and help. Why did the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam need protection? Because the whole of Quraysh was against him. The whole of Makkah was against him. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he needed protection and help so that it would become easy for him to spread the message of Islam. Not so that he can make up his numbers, not so that he can have more followers, not so that people will come to him. No, because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam needed help against the Quraysh, and it would, so that it becomes easy for him to spread the message of Islam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would approach the strongest tribes. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was accompanied by Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. When they used to visit the tribes, they used to visit the leaders of the tribes. And they would ask them a few questions. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was a very intelligent person. The benefit of having Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu with him was that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu had a lot of knowledge about different tribes, their leaders, what would be the best time to meet them. So he would ask them different questions when they would approach them, that how many of you are there, how are you militarily, are you strong, how many numbers, etc., etc. All of these questions, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, with the permission of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would ask various tribes. Many of them accepted the message, and many of them continued as usual, and many of them didn't accept the message. While Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was at this stage of da'wat, Abu Lahab, his uncle, and Abu Jahl, they were the ones that were causing the most harm to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because if you remember, we spoke about it in a few lessons before, just before Mi'raj, the uncle of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Abu Talib, passed away. And he was obviously one of the ones who supported and protected Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now it became easy for Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl and these lot to harm Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So what they would do is they would go to the tribes, they would go to the leaders, whilst Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is making his effort, and they would say, no, don't listen to him, he is a liar. They would say that he is a liar, he is an innovator, he is causing problems, he is causing harm, and he is taking us away from the worship of Lat and Uzza, who are obviously idols. And Abu Lahab, he would go and whisper this message to people. So obviously, like I mentioned, some of the tribes they accepted the message, and they became hand in hand with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And some of the tribes, they treated Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam very, very harshly. I'll give an example now. Some of the tribes, they treated Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in a harsh manner. Mudrik bin Munib radiallahu anh, he narrates from his father, who narrates from his father, that during the days of ignorance, obviously when Islam hadn't spread so much, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would invite the people. He would invite the people towards La ilaha illallah, and he would say to them that, there is none worthy of worship except Allah. Accept this message and you will be successful. So Mudrik bin Munib's father, whose father narrates, he says that when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to do this, some people, they used to spit in the beloved face of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Some people, they would pour dirt over Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Jo ganda hota hai, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ke upar dalte the. Some people, they would curse and keep cursing Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and different things they used to do to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the middle of the day, a young girl used to come, and she used to come with a cup of water, and she used to pour water over the face of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and she used to pour water over the hands of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She used to wash the hands and the face of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The narrator, he says, I asked those who accompanied with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that who is this little girl? And then the people who were with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they said, this is Zainab, this is the daughter of our beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he says, by Allah, she was such a beautiful girl, and she used to assist and she used to pour water over Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to soothe her and say, don't worry about these people will never be able to defeat us. These were the kind of difficulties Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was going through whilst he was making the effort of da'wah. Today when we are making the effort of da'wah, we don't have no qurbanis and sacrifices compared to what Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam went through. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to obviously counteract the efforts of the oppressors, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, and the tribes that didn't support him, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he took a few steps. Why? Because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he used to have to tactfully work as well. Kaam mein hikmat bhi honi chahiye. That ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'idati al hasana. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would advise with hikmat and wisdom, and he used to use tact as well. So there was 4 steps that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam took. Number 1, he used to visit the leaders of various tribes in dark hours. So in the night time, maybe where nobody could see him, where the Quraysh wouldn't be able to see him, he would visit certain tribes and he would visit certain leaders. We will mention later on Aus and Khazraj, who were the biggest supporters of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They actually accepted the message, and when they pledged their allegiance, they accepted the message in the night. So obviously this benefited Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he would call the leaders in the night time. Number 2, he would visit leaders in their homes. He would go to their homes, khususi. He would go to their homes, he would meet them, and he would invite them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why did he go to their homes and not openly do it? So that Quraysh, they weren't able to interfere in the message, in the spreading of the message of da'wah. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would visit the leaders in their homes. Number 3, what else did he used to do? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he used to take helpers with him. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu used to accompany him, and Ali radiallahu anhu also. He also used to accompany Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And like I mentioned, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was a very knowledgeable person, so this helped in the mission of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the fourth thing he used to do is that he would find out the military capabilities of each tribe. Like I mentioned, in various stages of da'wat, first of all, it was just secret da'wah. We spoke about this before, the 6 different stages of da'wah. One of them, first of all, was the secret da'wah. But at this stage, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he wasn't still openly going, but he was still going to the people openly in that sense. Okay, so at this stage of da'wah, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would find out the details of each tribe, which were the strongest, and he would try and take the assistance. Yeah. And the reason of this, obviously, after the death of Abu Talib, it became difficult for him to propagate. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had to take these different steps. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't visit these various tribes because of his own desires, no. Because this was the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never should we question ourselves, why did Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam only visit the stronger tribes? This was obviously unique with this situation, so that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, remember, he never neglected the weak and the poor people. He would always invite them, he would always call them, he would always look after them also. Because of the situation, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in this particular situation, he used to go to the stronger tribes. Moving on, we mentioned earlier, Aus and Khazraj. These were 2 tribes who were idol worshippers. They were the 2 biggest. They used to fight amongst each other. They used to always fight amongst each other. They would always argue with each other, etc. These were 2 tribes in Medina who were idol worshippers. These 2 tribes, they happily, enthusiastically, they accepted the message of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they pledged support for the cause of Islam. And they said to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that we are ready to give everything, which we'll mention now. We are ready to sacrifice everything. We are ready to be hand in hand with you, and we pledge our support to you, whether it's against the Quraysh, whether it's against the Mushrikeen, whoever it is, we are ready to support you. So during the days of Hajj, a few pilgrims of Khazraj, they came for Hajj. 6 of them altogether, they came for Hajj. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he invited them in a place called Aqaba. He invited those people in a place called Aqaba, and he presented the message of Islam to them. And again, they accepted the message of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they bear witness, and they accepted the message of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then they asked Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to permission to invite the other people of Medina. They said, can we invite the other people of Medina towards Islam as well? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he gave them permission. So these 6 Sahabis, namely Asad bin Zurara, Auf bin Harith, Rafi bin Malik, Qutbah bin Amir, Uqba bin Amir, and Jabir bin Abdullah, radiallahu anhum, 6 Sahabas, they went to Medina. Those 6 who were idol worshippers, now they have become the monarchs of Islam. So they go to Medina, and slowly they start spreading the message. Why we need to understand all this is because, remember, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's going to make hijrah to Medina. Why is he making hijrah to Medina? You've got to understand, why has he made hijrah to Medina? Why? Because the people there are supporters of Islam. This is why it's important that we understand all of this before we actually speak about hijrah, that many people in Medina had accepted the message of Islam. Therefore, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam could confidently go to Medina and confidently say that the people of Medina, they will look after him, they will support him. So the people, they returned to Medina and they started calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the narrator mentions that every single home, almost every single home, the message of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had reached. The following year, in the 12th year of prophethood, 12 people that came to Makkah from Khazraj, 10 of them from the tribe of Khazraj and 2 from the tribe of Aus, and they came, 5 of them mentioned above and 7 more, they came to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fixed an appointment with them in the night time at the place of Aqaba. At this moment, this is when the Bay'atul Aqabatil Ula took place. The first pledge to allegiance took place, and they pledged their allegiance to Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they said that we will not ascribe partners to Allah, they will not commit any theft, they will not fornicate, they will never, no false accusations, they will not slander anything, etc. And this was the first allegiance of the Ansar that took place. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he sent these 12 Sahabas back to Medina, and with them he sent Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu and Abdullah bin Maktub radiallahu anhu. Them 2 Sahabis with these 12, the delegation of 12 people, they went to Medina and they started calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, he invited people towards Islam, and mashallah, he had a beautiful voice. He used to teach the people Quran, and also he used to lead the salah as well. Upon an occasion, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, amazing story, he was explaining about Islam. Many people were gathered, there was a very big crowd there. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he, Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, he was calling people towards Islam, and there was a huge crowd, and he was talking about the Quran, and he was making recitation of the Quran. One Sahabi who became a Sahabi later on, Usayd bin Hudayr radiallahu anhu, he came and he came through the crowd and he came to Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu and he said, who are you misleading our children and misleading our daughters? Usayd bin Hudayr, he comes to Musab bin Umair who says, who are you misleading our children, misleading our daughters, etc. So Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu is a very calm person, because he was confident in his message, he had trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, sit down. If you give me permission, I will talk to you for a little while. If not, then by all means you can get your sword out and you can do whatever you want. So Usayd bin Hudayr radiallahu anhu, he said, fair enough. Obviously he hadn't accepted Islam. He said, fair enough, that's a fair point. So he sat down. Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, he portrayed the magnificence of Islam and the significance of Islam. He recited a few verses of the Quran. Upon this, Hazrat Usayd radiallahu anhu, he said, Ma ahsana hadha al-kulam wa ajmala. You know how beautiful are these words. You know how eloquent are these words of the Quran. And he accepted the message that Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu propagated to him, and he asked him, what do I need to do? So Hazrat Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu said that you need to have a bath, you need to pray 2 rakats, you need to accept the shahada. And then straight away, the ajib thing was the Sahabas, they would accept Islam and straight away they would become da'is. So Hazrat Usayd radiallahu anhu, he says that there is another man by the name of Sa'd bin Mu'adh. He is a very influential leader. He is from the tribe of Aus. If he accepts, then all of his tribe will also accept. Straight away, as soon as he accepts the message of Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, straight away he becomes a da'i also, and he goes to Sa'd bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, who becomes a Sahabi later. And he says, oh Sa'd. Sa'd looks at him and he looks at Usayd radiallahu anhu and he says, you know what, he looks like a changed man. His face looks completely different as it would look before. So he came to Sa'd radiallahu anhu and he says to Sa'd radiallahu anhu, I have been to Mus'ab, and he speaks beautiful words, nothing contradicting, nothing controversial, and beautiful words of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, etc., etc. Sa'd radiallahu anhu, he became very angry. He became very angry at this, and he went to Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, and he drew his sword out, and he went to Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu. Again, Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, he said to him, in a very calm manner, he said to Sa'd, sit down with me, give me a moment to explain to you about Islam, and if you want to, you can take your sword out. Sa'd bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, he says, fair point, that is fair, and he sat down. Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, he invites him, he calls him towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions the verses of the Quran, and Sa'd bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, he also accepts the message of Islam. Straight away, Sa'd bin Mu'adh radiallahu anhu also, few minutes ago, he is an enemy of Islam, and straight away what does he do? He goes towards his tribe, Banu Asad, which is obviously a sub-tribe of Aus, like I mentioned, and he goes to them, Banu Abdul Asad, and he says to them, by Allah, I will not talk to any of you until you people accept the message of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, until all of you embrace Islam. And the narrator mentions that by the evening, by nightfall, no man, no woman had been left from this tribe, except every single one of them had accepted the message of Islam, except for one Sahabi by the name of Amr bin Thabit, who accepted Islam later on at the time of Uhud. Apart from that, the entire tribe, they accepted the message of Islam. And just from this, the point we can take from this, that every Sahabi, the moment they accepted the message, they understood the importance of da'wat, and they understood the importance of calling others towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is not only about me being saved from the fire of Jahannam, it is not only about me and my family, it is about our entire tribe and our entire communities and the entire ummah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that how can every single one ummati of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam be saved from the fire of Jahannam. And this is why the Sahaba, as soon as they accepted the message, they would become da'is. And the last thing which I want to talk about is, after this, the following year, the second pledge took place, which is known as Bay'atul Aqabati Thaniya. Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, obviously he was one of the main people of Medina, because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had sent him. With 400 people, he came for Hajj the following year, and with him, out of them, not all of them were believers. Out of them, approximately 75 of them, different narrations, were believers, 73 men and 2 women. They came and they wanted to meet Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wanted to meet them as well. And when they secretly met Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the valley of Mina, the same place, Aqaba. at the same place of Aqaba. Abbas radiallahu anhu, who hadn't accepted Islam at that time, he addressed the Ansar, the people who had come, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he wishes to come over to Medina. He wishes to migrate to Medina, because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam knew that many people had accepted the message in Medina, and the people of Makkah are going to give him difficulties. It will be difficult for him to propagate the entire da'wah. So Abbas radiallahu anhu, who hadn't accepted Islam at that time, he says, you know, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam desire is that he comes over to you, but I can only send him with this condition, that you look after him, you protect him all the way up till his death. So the Ansar, the tribes that had come from Medina, they said, we understand your concerns and we are ready, you know, to look after Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After this, they addressed Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Ansar, they addressed Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "O Prophet of Allah, we are eager to comply to your conditions. We are ready, you know, to take pledge with you." So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to them, you know, we must bayana Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ala sam'i wa ta'a. The full narration is mentioned. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, you know, you must ensure that you grant refuge to us, offer your protection the way you protect your wife and children, etc., etc. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam put a few conditions down. On these conditions, he would go to Medina. The Ansar, they said in return, you know, what will we get in return? We're doing all of this, what will we get in return? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he just said one word, he said, you will get Jannah. The moment he said Jannah, the Ansar, the people of Medina, they readily accepted the message of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They stretched out their hands for bay'ah, and they said to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we pledge our allegiance. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the bay'atul aqabati thaniya took place, what we call the second pledge, whereupon the Sahabas of the Ansar of Medina, they accepted this pledge of allegiance, when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam took an entire pledge that you must protect us, you must look after us, the people who come with me, etc., etc. And this is where the second pledge took place. And then this caravan in return back to Medina. And after this, in the following year, in the year 13th year of prophethood, the Hijrah took place, inshallah, which we will talk about in our next lesson. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all give me an understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the understanding of the importance of da'wat. That was the main theme of today, was the importance of da'wat, inviting people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reminding people, and this is mine and your collective responsibility. Even in the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet was there. In previous prophets, nobody was able to call towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They weren't told to call towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every prophet would individually call the people. But this ummah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has been given this extra responsibility of calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And every single ummati of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is responsible of this effort of da'wah, calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in whatever sense, whether it's through means of adhan, through means of da'wah, with any means, whichever we can, we call people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, in this zamana we have the effort of da'wah, and we can see, mashallah, many people who have come out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, approximately 20 brothers who have come out, and mashallah, this is a very big sacrifice. We also as well must accept ourselves. The Muhajirin and the Ansar, they were both given special rewards. The Ansar were given du'as from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allahumma ghfir lil ansar wa abna'i al ansar wa abna'i al ansar. That, oh Allah, forgive the people of Ansar, forgive the children of Ansar, and the children of the children of Ansar. So even when Jamaats and people come out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our locality, we must do the nusrat, we must take them out for mulaqats to meet people who are far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. MashaAllah, how many people came to the masjid? Maybe 400-500 people. How many people in our community? Come on, who's at work today? Who's at work on a Christmas Eve? About 300-400 musallis. Out there we've still got 3,000-4,000 people who are not coming towards the masjid. Who's going to make worry and concern for them? This is mine and your responsibility. Every ummati of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is responsible for this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all give me the tawfiq, give all of us the tawfiq. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Subhanallah.